Brent Venables experiencing his first media days as head coach, making sure he's not providing any bulletin board material in year one. The new Oklahoma Sooners head man said OU going to begin preseason practice August 4th. Said 40% of the roster has not played a game at OU, saying 33%, or check that, 33 scholarship players and 15 walk-ons. Longtime Clemson assistant says all those years in Death Valley and winning titles with Dabo Swinney has prepared him for this moment.
I feel I'm very prepared for this moment. I've been very fortunate that I've been associated and been a part of programs where, to me, there's 3 Hall of Fame coaches that have influenced me. In Bill Snyder at Kansas State, Bob Stoops at Oklahoma, and I know without question that he will be a Hall of Fame coach in Dabo Swinney at Clemson. So I've been really fortunate to be around a lot of great people, tremendous football players that have helped me get here to this moment, and I couldn't be more excited. But it's been just like you would expect. The fire hose is fully inserted in my mouth here, and we've been blowing and going, and so I'm really excited to get back with the team now.
Can't talk Oklahoma without talking Texas. Football coach Steve Sarkisian took the stage Thursday at media days as well. Longhorns coach entering his second season in Austin. High hopes after a promising haul of talent in the 22 recruiting class and transfer portal. Sark reiterating the Longhorns are going to play his way, which will transfer to any field, any team, any conference.
Having come from the SEC, I had an idea of a style of play that I wanted to play regardless of the conference that we were going to be in. And that was a big physical front on both sides of the ball with speed on the perimeter. So we had already started to develop our roster and build our roster that way. So regardless of playing this year in the Big 12 or next year in the Big 12 or whatever this is going to look like, our style of play, our roster that we have in place is one that, regardless of who we play, is going to be one that fits us.
Sark led Texas to a 5-7 record his first year, including 3-6 in league play. But the Longhorns welcome in number 5 transfer portal haul, according to 24/7 Sports, highlighted by 5-star quarterback transfer Quinn Ewers. It is a reason why that they are the betting favorite, although ever so slightly at Caesars, 2-1 for Texas, plus 220 for OU. Time to check in with senior writer and reporter Dennis Dodd, our college football guru, joining us. He was at Big 12 Media Days. So Sark, let's talk about him first, Dennis, right? Getting Texas to be SEC ready. What does that exactly mean, Dennis?
Well, it means getting more physical. I mean, this has been said about Texas for years, that the players have a better time and are coddled more, I guess, in Austin than they are in the NFL. They work harder in the NFL than they do in college. That's been talked about for years, going back to Mac Brown. So you've got to get better in both lines. Look, there's a reason why Sark brought in 7 new offensive linemen, 8 new defensive linemen. They just got to get tougher. I looked it up right before the hit here. Texas has finished above 5th in sacks allowed once in the last 5 years in the Big 12, and there was a couple times they finished 9th in sacks. So they try to put up a lot of points, but they don't get the ball off a lot of times. And you're breaking in a quarterback who's taking in exactly 4 snaps, Quinn Ewers at Ohio State last year. That's assuming he beats out Hudson Card. So they've got to get better in both lines. I think they're going to have the best offense in the Big 12, Tommy, with Bijan Robinson, Xavier Worthy, and the aforementioned Quinn Ewers. The problem is, giving up points. They gave up a lot of points last year. They lost that overtime game to Kansas, which just hangs in the air with a bad taste until they get it going again. Win the Big 12? I don't think so. But Sark gets it. I mean, he's probably the best offensive play caller in the country. He's just got to assemble a roster now in year 2.
Yeah, he's got a lot of freshmen, I think 28, but 10 of those got in January. So spring ball, fall camp will certainly help with that as they continue to build things. We do live in a world of conference realignment, of course, Dennis, and we've heard of lame duck coaches and lame duck athletic directors, but we have lame duck programs now, obviously. Brett Yormark, the new Big 12 commissioner, is saying, quote, "I'm not against," end quote, having negotiations about maybe having Texas and Oklahoma leave early as they depart for the SEC. What more can you tell us about that, and give me some of your thoughts to this?
Yeah, we're starting to get to that point, right, where Oklahoma and Texas only have 3 more seasons left in the Big 12. Now, that's only, last year when they bolted, they had 4. But now with conference realignment and what the Big Ten has done to bolster their lineup, you can kind of see that Texas and Oklahoma are getting itchy to get out. They were from the beginning. The issue is, Tommy, it's the law of diminishing returns. At what point does the cost to litigate become less than the option to buy out of the granted rights, which I'm told is ironclad, rock solid, very much like the ACC's. That's the reason none of their schools can leave quite yet, although they've got 14 years left on theirs. Texas and Oklahoma have 3. So let's say the number is, I don't know, $60 million. Could Texas and Oklahoma afford that? They probably could if they, finance that over a period of years, say 20 years or something like that. And if the Big 12 goes and expands and gets some of those Pac-12 teams, does that activate a clause in the contract about conference composition? All of them, all the contracts have that. In other words, if the composition changes, can schools get out? I don't have the answer to that question, but I think those are things to think about. So with 3 seasons to go before they go to the SEC, and the Big 12 maybe about to change composition, that's probably something to think about right now.
All right, something to think about as well, of course, NIL, name, image, and likeness. It continues to evolve. Kind of circling back to Texas with Arch Manning. How is he impacting the game at the moment?
Well, 14 months before he would throw a college pass, Tommy, he looks to be the top earner, the top valuation ever in NIL history, the short history that it is, 3 weeks in a year. But think about this. He's got the Manning last name. He's got branding in the family. He's got sponsors lined up because guess what, Tommy? In the state of Louisiana, high schoolers can capitalize on their NIL. What my story stated was he doesn't really have to. I mean, does Arch Manning really need $1 million deal? My point is the eye is on the prize for some of these top guys. Caleb Williams has some deals, a lot of deals at USC, but he doesn't do anything during the season. Bryce Young the same way at Alabama. Dominic Raiola is the father of a guy you probably haven't heard of very much, Dylan Raiola. He's the #1 player in the 24 class, quarterback from Phoenix, and he's already committed to Ohio State. Dominic Raiola, the father of Dylan, has already reached out to Cooper Manning, the father of Arch, to find out how they're doing it because he wants to keep his son focused on playing football. And I think that's one of the biggest things that's come through with NIL. Everybody's eligible. A lot of people can get money. I think the average amount of money across FBS was like $60 per person. The problem comes with when does it distract from actually playing and winning the game?
Quickly to follow up on that then, Dennis, has there been any additional either legislation or supervision when it comes to NIL?
No, just all we know from the national level is that the NCAA continues to investigate booster involvement. Problem there is an amendment just passed in the state of Louisiana once again. I talked to the Senator Patrick Connick, who was behind it, that allows boosters to involve themselves in the process. We know from reporting that John Ruiz, the collective guy at Miami, has been interviewed by the NCAA, said everything's on the up and up. But I don't know how the NCAA gets past this when you're playing whack-a-mole in state by state, Tommy. That's how we got here with NIL. There were so many states with laws that the NCAA threw up his hands and said, well, we can't regulate NIL. So that's where we are right now. And I think it's going to stay pretty much like that unless they get help from Congress, and that ain't coming anytime soon.
All right, Dennis Dodd with the very latest on that front. Dennis, certainly appreciate it. Good talking to you. And let's remind everybody about the Cover 3 podcast. They've got you covered, of course, with college football. The Cover 3 crew talking about recruiting, conference realignment, and more. First up for them, the release of the blue chip ratio for 2022.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.